And there was toys all over the floor, and it almost brings me to tears because I just think like, oh, I was so lost in this idea of perfectionism and having everything look minimal and have everything be perfect, that I sacrificed like my children on this altar of perfection. And it really is quite sad. Okay. So I just went to go film this video, you guys, and then I just got on this tangent and I was talking about something that has nothing to do with this video at all. So we're gonna pray that everybody will stay happy downstairs with the babysitter for a little bit longer so that I can give this another shot. Welcome back, you guys. My name's Jaimie if you're new, and hello to all of the rest of you guys, family here. It's so good to see you. It's so good to have you. Grab a coffee, grab something to drink. Today I'm gonna be chatting about how it has been being off of Instagram for the last 6 months. If you guys are new here, I shared a video last summer, I believe it was, that I had gotten off of Instagram. I had stopped being on Instagram. So if you have not seen that, I will link it up here in the cards for you. For those of you guys that had seen it, a lot of you guys have asked me for an update, if I'm still planning on staying off of Instagram, if I'm ever gonna go back on Instagram, all of those kinds of things. So I wanted to sit down and kind of just share where my headspace is at, what I have learned in addition to the things that I shared in that first video, any changes that I feel. It's been a learning process, and so I wanted to sit down and dedicate an individual video to this so I could really share with you guys what I have taken from these last 6 months. So kind of to backtrack, I have been a consistent user and lover of Instagram for a long time. I remember going on Instagram with John when it first started and there were not very many users, and he used to take pictures of our Boston Terrier and post it on there. And that was when Instagram really was used for aesthetic purposes. It was way more about photography and way less about social media and networking and all of those things. And so that is originally how I started using Instagram. And through that, I met other people across the country that had found Instagram as well, and they took pictures of their Boston Terrier, or they were taking pictures of food, just different really cool people that were into photography or were just interested in it. Fast forward a couple years and Instagram has blown up. It is one of the hugest networking marketing platforms for influencers, for people. It's a way of staying connected with people. It's a way of meeting new people. There is so much good about it and there is so much bad about it. And it really has taken social media, the whole social media world, by storm. When I work with brands here on my YouTube channel, they are surprised that I don't have an Instagram account. They've asked me to reconsider because they would like their brand being shared on my Instagram account. A lot of you guys have actually asked me how it has affected my YouTube channel not having an Instagram account. And I've actually had people ask me this before getting rid of their Instagram or when they were thinking about it, because it does impact. But for me, it came down to the fact that following through with my conviction about getting rid of it, taking a stand for what I knew I needed to do in my life, and putting the betterment of my own mental health and my family and the quality of life that I wanted, I had to do all of that and put that first before thinking about how it was gonna affect my potential for business opportunities for my channel or for growth or for those things. I feel like sometimes when we start to operate out of fear and we don't do things because we're afraid of a negative effect of it, we're operating out of fear and we're not focusing on God's sovereignty, and we're not trusting and believing that He has this. So if we have a conviction, if we are wanting to do something for the betterment of us, if we know that something is going to be a good move for us, we have to focus on that and not focus on like the, oh well, what if? Because then we'll never do anything good, because there's always a what if, right? Any move that you're gonna make in your life is gonna cause some discomfort. That's just the reality of it. But you have to weigh out what matters more to you, and then you also have to look at your faith in God and know that He's bigger than that. If God wants to bring me cool brand opportunities for my channel, He'll bring them to me. If God wants my channel shut down and I'm never to make another video on YouTube, that will happen. If God wants me to speak on my YouTube channel and 2 people see it because YouTube takes me out of everybody's subscription feeds, then that's the reality. I mean, I might not make any more videos anymore because it might not be really worth my time as a mom of 4. But the reality of it is I have to give that over to God, and I have to just be okay with the fact that it's worth it to me to make that sacrifice, knowing what I'm going to get out of it in the end. One of the biggest things that I shared in that first video that I'm gonna share again today, because it really has blown my mind, is that getting off of Instagram for the last 6+ months, I have so much less care about the state of what my house looks like. And I don't mean that like we're just living in chaos. I mean, we are living in chaos, let's be real. I've got 4 little kids, we homeschool, everybody's here with me all the time. But the house is not like super trashed. I vacuum, I take care of it, I try to do the things. But the reality of it is I don't have this constant feed of perfection, minimalist, perfectly curated homes going through my mind all the time when I'm seeing the mess around my house. I was actually in my boys' room the other day before bed, and when I was on Instagram, I remember like I would go to their bedroom at nighttime, I would see the mess all over the floor, and it was like a trigger for me. I would immediately get angry, I'd be in a bad mood, I'd be complaining to everybody about how messy the house was, how the boys' bedroom is a mess, how the girls' bedroom is a mess. And it turned into this like, oh, we better keep our bedroom spotless or mom's gonna lose her crap before bedtime. And the other day I was putting them in bed, and I went into their bedroom to fill their diffusers. The kids were taking a bath, and there was toys all over the floor, and it almost brings me to tears because I just think like, oh, I was so lost in this idea of perfectionism and having everything look minimal and have everything be perfect, that I sacrificed like my children on this altar of perfection. And it really is quite sad. I saw their clothes and their toys. They had toys on top of the nightstand, little like magnetile blocks. They built this big tall house. It wasn't good looking. It could be an eyesore if you want to have a perfect room, but it was my kids' stuff. And I just saw them and I was like, that's my kids' stuff. Those are my kids and this is their stuff. The fact is they're playing. They play with these toys. They wear these clothes. I'm blessed to be able to provide a bedroom for them where they can be free. And it was just a humbling experience because it made me realize that we can spend so much time looking at these perfect pictures, and there's nothing wrong with taking a picture of like a beautiful home or a minimalist idea of what a bedroom looks like. But the fact is it's not real life. And if it is your real life and you have multiple kids and your house is perfect all the time, then you have different priorities than I do. And I guess that's okay. But I don't want to spend all of my days focusing on how perfect my house is and making sure that everything's picked up. Because by the end of the day, I've lost my mind taking care of all of the messes, and I focused more on my kids being mess makers than on my kids being my children that I'm called to disciple and love and pour into. And I just don't want to do that anymore. So that has been a huge thing that I have still continued to take away from this, is that it affected me. Social media, those pictures affected me way more than what I ever thought they did affect me. And if you're stuck in that mindset of like, I don't want to use the term OCD loosely because I know that there are a lot of people that struggle and that have an actual diagnosis of obsessive compulsive disorder. But it's almost like an OCD tendency of constantly looking, is there stuff out of order? Do I need to bring stuff into a room? Do I need to, and it's good to stay on top of messes, but it becomes obsessive and it can become something that just makes you angry and agitated all the time. And that was the state that I was in. And so getting off of Instagram made such a huge impact to me. I don't know what's cool anymore, you guys. I don't know what's trendy. I don't know what hats are cool to wear. I don't know, you know, who's divorced, who's had a baby, who has, I don't know. I don't know these things, and it's okay. And I actually feel good not knowing them. This is something else that I have taken from social media. There have been friendships of mine, and I say friendships loosely, people that I really did enjoy following on Instagram. Definitely, I'd follow them for years. We'd followed each other, and I'd find out that they had a baby. or they got pregnant, because it's only been like 6 months, but I'd find out they got pregnant, or I'd find out that they miscarried, or I'd find out that something huge had happened in their life. And it was sad in one facet, because I realized that I couldn't have been praying for them, or I couldn't have reached out to them. But it also reminded me that if they didn't tell me about it, it's really none of my business. And those lines have been so blurred in this generation because of social media that we don't know what's our business anymore. And if someone shares something on Instagram, then clearly they know that the masses are gonna read it anyways. But I've found that I can't take it personally that they didn't tell me personally, because we were just friends on Instagram. We just followed each other on Instagram, and their life is really none of my business. I found that when people share things on social media, and I've experienced this being on YouTube, you almost feel like you have this entitlement to know what's going on in their life. You want to know how their pregnancy is going. You want to know how this is going. You want to know how that is going. And you think that you have this relationship with them. But the reality of it is you guys follow each other on social media, and you're not entitled to know anything that goes on in their life unless they share it with you personally, because you have a relationship with them. And so that was actually a little freeing for me. It might sound kind of negative, and I promise you that I don't have like a bitterness or an anger about this. It just was thought-provoking to me, because I realized that I personally had formed these attachments with people and their lives and their journeys where there really wasn't an actual relationship to build, like a foundation to build upon for a lasting friendship and relationship where you communicate with each other and you have this relationship together. I want to wrap this video up with the last thing that I've taken from this, and this has been a little bit humbling. As I've gotten older, I've realized that in every situation that I walk through, God always has something for me to learn in it. And sometimes it validates how I feel, and sometimes it's a kind of a humility check for me. And this last thing I want to share with you really kind of humbled me more than anything else. So I shared with you guys in the last video that I have been off of Facebook for quite a while. It's been a couple years. So this last December, November, I saw a lot of family at Christmas time. I ran into cousins and I saw their babies, and I got life updates from all of them. And I realized as I was seeing all of them that I had been missing out on, you know, their kids getting older, milestones that they had. And it's so difficult because, like I mentioned, we're not entitled to know these things. We are not. And on the other hand, we live in a culture where people share so openly, and that's kind of how you relay information too, because everybody's on social media. And so when I originally got off of social media, I almost had the mindset of like, well, if you want to see my kids, text me. If you want to hang out with us, give me a call. Our address is the same. My phone number is the same. You know, if you're really a part of my life and you want to have a relationship, then let's have a relationship. Let's not depend on social media. And as much as I don't think there's anything wrong with that, I understand where that mindset is at. I had that mindset. I also realized after not being on Facebook, not being on Instagram, that I wasn't like calling people either. I wasn't reaching out to cousins, to aunts, to uncles, to people that live in other states. I wasn't going the extra mile to check in on them. And then when I did see them, I felt kind of sad because I realized that I didn't get to see them every day in my feed. I didn't get to see how they were doing, view pictures of their vacation that they shared with people. Like, I didn't get to enjoy those aspects of social media because I was so burnt out about the negative aspects of social media that I kind of like threw the baby out with the bathwater in a sense. Now, I do believe that for the time that I was off of Facebook, it was very, very needed, and I didn't miss it at all. It wasn't until around the holidays where I realized that I had missed seeing the people that I really loved in my life, that life is just so crazy. It's not about like, well, they don't matter to you so you don't make time. And sometimes I would have that mindset like, oh, I must just not matter because they don't make time for me. But it really is not fair because we all have lives, we all have families, and we all have a lot of people that we care about, and there's only so many hours in a day. And I understand that. And so in December, maybe it was the beginning of January or was the middle of December, end of December, I decided to get back on and reactivate my Facebook account. The main reason that I did this was so that I could post pictures of my kids for family that I didn't see often, people that lived in other states that I wanted to catch up with, people that I cared about that were older that I didn't see that often. That was the main reason why I got back on Facebook, was for that reason. With that being said, I noticed going back on all of the bad stuff again. I was like, oh man, this is why I got off. But since being gone for so long, it was so much easier for me to just kind of like hide, kind of just throw. I didn't feel the need to comment. I didn't feel the need to share my input, because the reality of it is life goes on outside of Facebook. I know this because I've been off it for a few years, and it doesn't matter. And the things people post, I never knew about, so I don't need to know about it now, you know? If they're posting something negative, I can scroll on by and my day is not going to be affected by it. So that being said, I am still on Facebook with close friends and family, people that I know in my life, but I'm not on Instagram. Personally, I don't know if I ever will get back on Instagram. I don't want to ever say never, because people evolve, we change, we grow, our needs in life change. Life happens. But for right now, I'm still content with not being on it. And I feel like it took so much from my life, so much more. It took so much more from my life than it added to it. And so for me, I feel okay not being on it. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. There's probably so much more I could say. If there's anything you want me to speak specifically on, or questions that you have, please comment down below. I'd love to chat with you guys more in the comments. My email is listed in the about section. It's jaimiekite@gmail.com if you ever want to chat on my email. I hope that this was interesting, educational for you guys, if not just entertaining, and maybe just opened up your eyes to a little bit more of the world of social media, and not only just the negative aspects, but also the good stuff that comes from it too. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.